Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. A lot of things to get to. Just hilarity, just a little bit of an update with the Google Ads thing. So I was getting nothing from Google Ads. So they spent 52 of my dollars, which is, I mean, not a lot in the advertising budget, but there was literally no results, and there was no perceivable views on my video, and there was no, I lost, I think, 15 subscribers. So if you pay so much money when the goal is to bring people into the channel and to bring in subscribers, and so they said that there was 44,000 impressions. I ended up, uh, I ended up pausing my campaign, and because I called the number, and so I had two numbers. I had the original 1-800 Google number, and I had a secondary number that was to the girl that I had a very bad experience with, but I didn't know it was to her. I thought it was directly to some call center, right? So this was a number that came out of like Washington, North Carolina, or something like this, right? Um, so I didn't know it was a direct line to her, this consultant I had talked to who was horrible. And she said her name, and I kind of didn't remember her name, and she sounded Indian this time, more Indian. But then I realized it was the same person, so I called that number because it bypasses the whole waiting thing. But which means she hung up on me when my account was suspended, right? So I ended up talking to her, and then I realized it was her, and we were talking for a little bit. And I said it's not working, and she said, "Well, you shouldn't have hung up on me." She starts chastising me, like this is a salesperson, because she says that Google search would have been what I needed, because she had tried to push Google ad search, for on the Google thing instead of I wanted to be on YouTube, right? Um, and she's chastising me and saying like, I told you so, right? Like, which is the worst thing you could do when she was wrong, because my thing wouldn't have worked on Google search because she was running it the wrong way. And so then she took me to help me find a page for what was going on. She said, "Well, there's 44,000 impressions, and that's related to 732 views. So that's where the action's taking place. And from those views, there's no click throughs to my channel, and there's no subscription, and there's no results. So they've wasted $53.24 of mine, and not one new subscriber. Now I wouldn't pay $1 per subscriber, right? Like that, I mean, that's not economically feasible. Like it's not a good decision. It's not a good economic decision, right? $1 per subscriber. Let's say that I, ran a budget of $1,000. I got 1,000 new subscribers. That would not be economically suitable because those 1,000 new subscribers would not generate $1,000, right? And even over the long term, even if some of them became members, even some of them, whatever, became longtime viewers, it's not like a person would 1,000 people would generate $1,000. That's why you need lots more subscribers and people, in terms of viewership, because I'm seeing real time how bad Google Ads is inefficient, and that's why people aren't using it. People aren't advertising on YouTube and Google because it's not working. The results aren't there. But then she indicated how it was working, because I said, "Well, how's that possible?" Because if there's 40,000 impressions, that means my video is running. Like I thought it was running it as an ad, which is what I said I wanted her to do, but she was too locked in her own stupidity and her inability. I wish I had taped the conversation because it was kind of hilarious. But in her own stupidity, she was running it as a Google search, YouTube search. So they were promoting my video in the search engines. So when somebody like searched for comedy or Hollywood or some of the, and they had terms in there that I didn't put in, like grocery store. And I went back and I looked at the terms again. There's no terms for like even conspiracy theorists. There's nothing in it for our demographic. There's no way to get in front of our demographic specifically. And there's nothing in there for God or religion. I then search religion. So they don't have anything in terms of divinity and nothing. These are my two big things, truth or stuff and divinity. And they don't have anything, spirituality. And they don't have any categories where people can reach those demographics specifically, target those demographics, which makes it already a bad match for me, right? So people are searching comedy and searching, whatever these other things are. YouTube would, Google Ads would promote in YouTube search my video, and they would click on a 15-second ad video, which isn't, what they're looking for. So, of course, they're not coming through, right? I made the thing 15 seconds because it was going to be one of those ads that they run before a YouTube video, right? But it would have to be for the right people because it's not going to appeal to the majority of people. And their demographics are F's. And, as an ad, it's not ideal, but it's, the best that I could do or whatever. It seems like a good whatever. I don't know. But in terms of it has to go in front of the right people, it has to be run as an ad. Otherwise, I could have made a longer video that they could promote in search. But what I'm paying for is what YouTube has screwed me and every other truther with when they changed the algorithms and stopped recommending our videos because of, this pressure on fake news and conspiracy theorists. And that's not us, to promote CNN and crappy content that people are, you don't go to YouTube to watch CNN and MSNBC. You go to YouTube to watch, individual people and whatever it is, right? Alternative media organizations that are more grassroots. And they've been pushing the CNN, MSNBC, Fox stuff on everybody. Like you guys know, you watch a video of mine and they'll go to a video of Tucker Carlson because that's how they do it, right? They try to bring you always back to what they call authoritarian news. And so what I was paying them to do was do what they should have been doing all along, was promoting my videos and all of our videos to the, people, right? Like that's how they used to do it. And now I had to pay them and they were doing it inefficiently. When I had an ad that should have ran in front of the video, they're promoting it like when somebody searched something, they would find it in the search because it would, the fact that I was giving them money would bump it up in the search categories. But again, she didn't listen to me when she put it together because she sucks at her job and she's rude, just a horrible salesperson or whatever she is. She doesn't know anything technically. And she was a drag to work with. Like the second time, even more so. And she had the audacity to tell me, I told you so. And I'm like, even on a larger scale, I now know that these, the services that YouTube offers in terms of ad revenue, there's no future in it because it sucks. Their organization isn't running it well, and people aren't clicking on the ads. I mean, not just in terms of my channel, but in terms of that's the financial instrument that I make money from. And of course they're down money now. Like now they've cut their ad revenue for all of us because people aren't using it. The economy's crumbling, and YouTube and Google are, on the ropes, right? They don't want to admit it, but clearly it's not working. Like they're just sucking so bad right now what they do. It's like I don't want to worry about that end. Like that's what YouTube does for me. Like I create content for them and they get ad revenue from my content. That's what I do for them. And I bring people in to their platform. There are people who just watch my videos because they're done with YouTube. So I bring people into their platform, right? To use their platform. So that's my service to YouTube. And, there's a divinity aspect and there's a backing of divinity to what I do here. When you work for God and you're a conduit for God, it confers a blessing on the people that help you, right? So there's that. There's that with YouTube. And so those are the things I bring to the table. And, I'm low maintenance and I'm low drama, whatever. And, even in the world of truthers, like they should want people like me because they're going to have some truthers on YouTube and they need them. So they should promote people who are more reasonable and aren't going to create problems and drama. So, there's all those things I bring to YouTube. I'm a good partner for them for what I do. And what they're supposed to bring is ad revenue. They're supposed to go out and contact people and, put ads on my videos that make sense for my audience and demographic. But since they won't recognize us as a demographic, and, their ads and a lot of these things suck and they're not good at it, because lots of you guys get ads that make no sense at all. That's why that happens, because they don't have a category for you, so they recommend things that are the opposite of what you want, because they're unwilling to, all of it, right? And the other thing is that they promote my stuff, that they have search engines and things, and my videos would come up, for people who would want to watch them. But now they block that. They've changed the algorithms to stop people who want my videos from seeing them. And so even when I pay them to do it, they suck at it. And I'm paying them to do the job they should be doing voluntarily because it's our partnership. And so it sucks so bad right now. So I paused my account. Some expert's supposed to call me, some specialist, and I'm going to blast the person I work with and, tell them everything I'm telling you, and try to get them to run my thing as an ad and find the appropriate demographics to run it for. And, if I'm able to do it, I'll tape that conversation as well, to see how that goes. But, I now feel like I was better off not knowing, because now I know that, I just can't look at YouTube as something that's financially viable, and Google, because they're just crapping out here. So there's a couple of comments to go along with this. There's a comment I read yesterday on my other channel, and I just want to add one thing to this. And the person said, "Did you really say thermite is a conspiracy nutter theory? It's a real chemical process with metals. They help take down the you-know-whats in 2001 in New York. Why would you wipe away the one factual aspect of the controlled demolition, like all these things? Unsure of what happened. Maybe you are jaded. I'm very jaded, but I'm still logical." And then you said right after, and I lost that you lost many viewers. Well, wonder, dude, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I just, destroyed this person's comment on my other channel yesterday, because I went and did research. But the one part I wanted to say here, because I should add that, I'm the one who discovered that was a bogus theory, which I discussed yesterday in my rebuttal to this comment. But I want to say a little bit more here. And so I, like so many people, assumed that thermite was real. It was used in controlled demolition, which it wasn't. That the major company that did all these big buildings, the company that did the biggest buildings before this event, they never used it. They don't use it. They use some other sort of explosive, right? Thermite burns through metal, and it could be used in certain circumstances, but not in girders that were encased in concrete. So thermite it was not thermite. And again, I discussed that yesterday. But this one guy, his name's Jones or Smith or something like that, right? He was an architect that put out a video, older guy, and he suggested thermite as a possibility. I don't know if this guy's a shill or whatever. There was an architects and engineers group that called BS on the whole official story, and I can't say they were good guys or truthers or whatever. Whatever. I don't care, right? But it's not my job to figure out who's a shill or not. Like, lots of people think it's their job. You have to do things for yourself. But so many of us believed in the thermite story because it just was accepted. And all of us, like this person who commented, just believed, that somebody along the line, some person, actually vetted this story. And that's what's the problem with the truth community, because nobody looked into it. And I started to believe in the idea of it being a micro nuke. And there's this guy, Dmitry Halazov, and he was some sort of a, former Russian intelligence. I don't know what he was, right? But not he was admittedly kind of a scumbag. He was an arms dealer or something. He wasn't like somebody who he had spent some time in jail somewhere, and he wasn't hiding it. You can find him. He was interviewed a few different places, but he explained how these micro nukes work, and I talked about this in my other video yesterday. And so I was like, well, this makes more sense as a theory. And it hasn't been disproven. In fact, there was more information when I looked into it about thyroid cancer in the first responders, which is associated with the iodine, the radioactive iodine in these, blasts. So there was actually something that confirmed it when I did my videos. So when I, did my own videos and I wanted to look into these things, I did what anybody could have done. I found the number one controlled demolition operation, and I looked to see if they ever used thermite, and they didn't. And it was a shock to me. I was like, oh my God, it's not even used, right? And the reason it isn't used is because they have another way, a better way. This is what they do professionally. It isn't like they never thought of thermite thermite was not even on the table as a possibility because controlled demolition doesn't use it. And if this thing was a controlled demolition, they would have used what they always use, right? They didn't need thermite, and it wouldn't have worked anyway because thermite burns through steel, metal, but not through concrete. And they put these blasts, these girders were packed in there was a foot of concrete around the footings of the building. And I found all this information, right? It wasn't like I just want to crap all over thermite, like I had an issue with thermite or the theory. And when I found it, this was one of my, and there's other things that happened where I realized that the truth community was just full with BS and disinformation. That people believed in things as fact, and they weren't even close to fact. Thermite wasn't used. Clearly wasn't used. Again, I believe it's nuclear, but I can't prove it. But I think that's, and then other people like it was a laser beam. Check out this woman. She explains it. There was this sort of laser beam theory. Whatever. I just know the official story is BS. And I know most of the things that people in the truth community believe in are BS. And because, it took me about 10 minutes to figure out the thermite was to take it off the table. Just all I had to see was it wasn't used in controlled demolition. Like all these buildings that had been taken down, thermite wasn't used. And so the nuclear, the micro nuke theory is much more believable. It has much more validity. Oh, the ground zero thing. But this person coming in and saying, it's like I was killing the sacred cow of stupidity and lack of critical thinking skills. That's what the sacred cow is. Because people in the truth community are just as dumb and just as sheepleness, just have as much sheeple as the other people. They don't look into things. They don't research things. They just hear somebody say something and, oh, that's it. I believe it. And we've seen it over and over again. If that costs me viewers, then, I don't want stupid viewers that they can't be flexible and understand you're never going to get facts the way that, that you want them because it's just muddled with disinformation and, all of it. And so, but I was the person to debunk thermite. Maybe other people did it, but as far as I know, I was the person. Instead of getting credit for that's an actual step towards truth and out of disinformation, this person was, of course you lost subscribers. You killed the sacred cow of our stupidity and ignorance, right? So I just want to add that. This one here. You speak about truth, but then you say Trump is worse than Biden. Seriously, you not only losing views and subs, your bias may be the one reason, but you're losing your mind. I'm crazy because I said that Trump was worse than Biden. I didn't say that. I said, and I explained it, but you couldn't understand it. It's not my fault. I can't make you smarter. That's something you have to work on. Because what I said was, which you can all validate, all you Trumpers out there, you can go figure this out for yourself if you want to. If you just hear these words. The agenda that they push through under Trump in terms of all the gender stuff, all the liberal Hollywood morality stuff, all the things they push through. That was all when Trump was in office. plus Operation Warp Speed and COVID all got pushed through under Trump. And he did little to nothing of what he promised in terms of his agenda. He certainly didn't make America great again. And when Biden came in, this is what always happens. When the outrage was there and the anger was there towards Trump and the left, they were able to push through this agenda. But then when Biden got elected, it pacified the left and the liberal voters. And the Republicans are now, on guard. They're activated. And so not just Republican, lawmakers or politicians, but voters. And so they didn't push as much through under Biden, that it's stalled under Biden. In fact, he's had to go back towards the middle and in terms of the far left stuff and the agenda that's being pushed through. So it was worse under Trump. Trump's presidency was worse, and they're basically the same guy. Biden's certainly more senile, but Trump's more of a, he's more dangerous to you all because you believe in him. You believe that he's a good guy and he's a savior, and he's not. So that's, who's to say what's worse or not, but certainly the stuff that got pushed through under Trump, and you can, add it up. Just list all the things. They changed the definition of gender under Trump. Trump pushed Operation Warp Speed. And all the deplatforming that happened because of the way Trump handled the election after the election. And then he turned on his voters and his supporters. And now they're all back, again, because they're desperate because they think Biden's so bad. But when Trump gets elected again, if he does, they're just going to, push this agenda through even more. And he's going to be a lame duck president. He's going to be even weaker than he was before. And, it's going to be worse. So, it's not that hard to understand. It's not rocket science. Anybody can understand that. Anybody could evaluate the stuff that got pushed through under Trump versus the stuff that got pushed through under Biden. But you're listening to right-wing shills and Trump, cultists, and you don't want to hear the truth. That's not my fault. That's your inability to, be an adult, right? Like, you take responsibility for what you believe. So there's the thermite one. And there's the thermite one again, so I copied that one twice. There was another one I want to get to. This is the main one. Oh, the person says this. Did my video, YouTube and Google suck so bad right now? And then the other things. And the person wrote, Paul, you made plenty of money from YouTube, and you can put up with these minor inconveniences. Well, I didn't. And, first of all, let's cover the, putting up with these minor inconveniences. I'm not making enough money to justify this as a job. I've gone below my level, which I just said in the video, which is $100 a day, which is like the bare minimum that I feel like I, should make. And it's well below that right now. It's probably, I don't know what it is, right? 70, whatever, less than that. And these are good months, like the January, February, March are not so good months, and then it starts getting better as we move into Christmas, which is, the best time is the back end of the year. I had a horrible December this year financially from the YouTube ad revenue. And so I'm not making enough money to call this a job. But this person's saying that I can put up with that. Well, why don't you go do your job for free? They have them become an unpaid intern for your job. Does anybody want to do that? So then shut the F up, right? Do you want to go into your job for free and not get compensated, right? Do you want to do that? Well, then, shut the F up, because don't tell other people to do something you're not willing to do. It's not like this job is so glorious that I should do it for free. I don't make videos for free. Most of the stuff I cover here that people want to see, Britney stuff, things like that, I'm not going to do that for free. Like, that's not something I do as a hobby. That's something I do to keep my YouTube channel going. I enjoy it, and, I have fun doing it, at times, whatever it is. But this is a job, and I should be compensated. So that argument is just stupid. Like, anybody saying that, go do your job for free, right? But the other thing is, I haven't made a fortune on YouTube, and you can see that from my views, right? You need to make, you need to have hundreds of thousands of views for the ad revenue to mount up, and then the merch or whatever. I've made $1,500 from the merch. Like, that's, over whatever period of time. It's been probably close to almost, 8 months or something. I don't know when I released the merch. and the rest of it, right? So I'm not become a wealthy person because of YouTube. It isn't like I made millions of dollars. I didn't, right? Some people have, but that's because they get more views and YouTube supporting them, more subscribers. And, I get about anywhere from 5 to 10,000 views a day now on pretty long videos. The length of the videos, the amount of ads and things, has helped in that way. But, the revenue is down. I think Google has to charge less per ad now because they're not getting people to pay for it because of all the things I said earlier. It doesn't seem to be working. It's not working for me. It's an inefficient system, and people are now going to other, they're putting their ad dollars in other things other than YouTube videos. Even though YouTube is very popular, it doesn't translate in the ad industry, and people have less money because of the economy. And so now it's insolvent. It doesn't look like it's something that's going to go forward in the future, so I have to reconsider everything. Given the amount of members, and I'm grateful for the people who have become members of my new membership thing, but it's I think it's still less than 100, and it isn't generated enough money to where I could do that. Where it would be a member supported channel. Like I already kind of knew that there wouldn't be enough people that are willing to pay, a couple bucks a month to hear my stuff. Like it's 100 people right now. So, people can't spend $3 a month, right? For, they don't think my content's worth $3 or $4 a month or whatever the pay the man daddy thing is. So majority of people who listen to my content don't think it has enough value for them for $4 a month. So that's, that is whatever it is, right? So that's the reality of my situation. People don't promote my stuff. They don't put it out there. Some people do, they say they do, whatever. Like I have people who become Facebook friends with me, and I see that they post videos from like other truthers or whatever, but not mine on their Facebook pages. So, it's like I'm the, dirty little secret of, like, whatever it is. Like, again, just I don't get bummed out by this stuff, but that's the reality of the situation. And so YouTube's fighting me, and, now with the ad revenue stuff, and, the views are down, and so, and then I get the stupidity of people who are criticizing me and saying that because I don't believe in thermite or Trump, that I don't have anything worth listening to because they're locked in some remedial reality that, it's that they can't break free from. So, I mean, stupidity is a factor, right? In all of this. But anyways, let's get into the stuff. This went a lot longer than I wanted to. Everything's trending downwards right now, and I'm dealing with that reality. And so, again, I'm doing what I can do. Like, I'm limited in certain things. I'm not a good networker. I'm not good at pandering to people. I'm not, whatever. Like, so, I mean, maybe it's just the back, it's just the back end of my, my time doing this here. Like, I don't know. I feel like God's got to help me in some way then, right? Whatever. Like there has to be some other, well, we'll see what happens. Like I just, today I'm making videos, and tomorrow I'll make videos, and then we'll see, it's just always that case, right? I mean, something could happen to me physically, or, things can change in the world, right? There could be no internet. Like something could happen tomorrow, and the electrical grid could go down. So, that would be the end of this thing, right? So it's just, and to now I'm making a video. I'm going to put a video up today, and, probably one tomorrow, and then we keep on going. It's a day-by-day thing. But anyways, let's get into the other stuff here. Okay, let's start here with in Trumpland, in Trumpville. He's playing golf here. I don't know where, don't care. But look how old he looks. It's hard to hear what he's saying here.
Really have, a lot of things coming up there. But they're great courses.
But look at him.
No, I think he's a very disloyal.
So now he's talking about DeSantis. This is better audio here. But, the guy just does not look good, right? I mean, he's in his 80s. He looks good for 80, But, as senile and bad as Joe Biden looks, these are old guys. These are too old. They're, really too old to do the job, right? I mean, there's just, they're in the death process. They're not in the time of building something or, creating something. Like I was saying the other day on my other channel, my wife and I watched that movie Air, which we enjoyed thoroughly. And it took us back to a time which was our time, right? When we were, in the beginning of our adulthood. And that's your time. Like, that's your time for life. And then as you get older, you're in a different phase of your life. And it's like you're living in the future, right? You're living, your time was our time was the 80s and 90s. Trump's times was the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, whatever it was for him, right? And then when you get older, you're in the death process and you're leaving things behind for other people, right? You're imparting wisdom, and that's what should be happening. You're not running things. You're not, active. You don't. I mean, it's there should be some sort of a limit in terms of the age, especially now with the way people are dropping like flies, even younger, in all of it. So these guys are just too old for the job.
Person, because he was dead. He was looking for jobs, and I endorsed him, and he went up many points. He was 30 points down, at least, maybe more than that. He was dead. So I think he's very disloyal, but I don't care. Look, a poll just came out in Iowa. You saw the one that just came out a couple of minutes ago. I'm leading by 30 or 40 points. I don't mind that at all. But no, I think he's very
I don't mind that at all.
disloyal, but he's got no
He doesn't mind leading by 30 or 40. You wish he was leading by 50.
personality. If you don't have personality, politics is a very hard business. Well, I watched him with Charlie Crist, and he got very badly beaten with Charlie Crist. And Adam Putnam beat him. I don't know, but they say he's not a very good debater, but maybe he is. I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe we'll find out. Because unless he gets...
You're not going to find out because you're not going to debate him. Trump isn't going to participate in the primary debates because he's, feels like he's above it all. And he's leading by so much. I mean, we'll see how this all plays out. But, I got some more on DeSantis in a bit here. So here he is going full fish boy right off the bat. This is, I don't know where, Trump video. He's got the fish boy thing going right off the bat.
The Russia hoax was the
Again, he's just fish boying it up, right?
most atrocious weaponization of our government in American history.
See, again, it's everything that's done to Trump is the worst. Anything that Trump's a victim of is the worst thing ever been done. It's the worst witch hunt in history. Even worse than the witch hunts themselves, right? Like that's just, Trump's problem. I mean, it's funny, and it played well for a while, but now it's just played out because, he's been proven as a fraud and a disaster and a hoaxer. A huckster.
As the Durham report makes clear, it was a crime like no other. 7 years ago, I ran for office, taking on all of the corrupt forces who got rich, bleeding America dry. They got absolutely...
In what way? Name one corrupt force you took down. Name something that you did to fight the corrupt forces, right? He's the king of corruption. Like, that's how he ran his business. They all are. You don't make money. You don't become a billionaire by being anti-corruption.
Absolutely rich, so rich you wouldn't even believe it. Our agenda was a threat to the entire political establishment. In response, a group of unelected thugs in the senior ranks of our government, working with crooked Hillary Clinton, launched a coup attempt.
But I thought it was going to be you were retiring crooked Hillary and calling it crooked Joe Biden.
To try and sabotage our campaign, our presidency, our movement, and our country. Crooked Hillary and Crooked Joe Biden. We switched names now.
Exactly, you did. And I'm glad you brought that back up.
We call Hillary Lovely Hillary and Crooked Joe because we've seen so much. And James Comey and Andrew McCabe, Barack Hussein Obama, all of them.
It was good he brought the Hussein back in there.
And all of the rest knew that it was a lie, a total lie. It was a scam. The entire time was all a big hoax. And they put our country through hell.
You know what was a big hoax that you participated in? COVID. Operation Warp Speed. What about those hoaxes, Trump?
The destruction the Russia hoax caused to America is almost incalculable. It subverted our democracy, it weaponized our law enforcement, It stoked global conflict, and it wrecked countless lives. It provided the pretext for the left's war on our freedom of speech. Worst of all, the FBI and the DOJ, both very...
All right, it's just whatever. Like, I mean, it's hard to watch. The whole thing is, Trump used to be enjoyable for me to watch. And, he's still a little bit funny, but it's just played out. It's just like, I know how he went out, and it's just, the same old thing over again. And he had his opportunity to change things, and he didn't, because he got completely worked on COVID. And, just all along the whole thing, the way his presidency played out. He wasn't what he pretended to be, right? He's a fraud. He's a fake.
Evil is on board. Powerful evil.
We call him Dracula.
The last voyage of the Demeter. Like, how many movies do they make about Dracula every year? Dracula is a descendant, is a ancestor. The royal family is a descendant of Dracula. King Charles saved Dracula's castle, so they are, connected to Dracula. I mean, think about that. The royal family. And there was just a Nicolas Cage movie about Dracula that came out recently.
The Demeter, on charter from Romania to London. Shipping private...
All right, I don't even know why I have this up. Maybe because of it's been up here a couple of days. There's Dracula here. All right, vampires. They just love their vampires. Immigrants account for record-breaking percentage of U.S. labor force. Foreign-born workers made up 18% of U.S. labor force in 2022. Wow, 20%. And it isn't their fault, right? Like, all this stuff that people say about illegal immigrants, people hire them, and they hire them in Republican areas. Republicans love to hire illegal immigrants. Go to some Republican state, and you'll find, rich people and projects going on, and you'll see legal immigrants working there. And so it isn't their fault, that they are coming here, because there is a need. There's a vacuum. And everybody in the Republican Party, including Trump would totally use illegal immigrants and did in the past. And so it's, rich people want to pay less for labor. And immigrants are always hungrier and work better. I mean, that's just a fact. Americans are entitled. And, people coming from worse situations and are grateful to be in America. Gratitude is a big motivator. And the American lifestyle is a lot better than where they were before. And they just work harder. And these are all facts. That's the real immigration problem. Fake AI image of Pentagon exploding goes viral on Twitter and causes U.S. markets to plunge. And there's some sort of Spider-Man across the Spider Universe there ad. So yeah, that happened, right? Juliette Rylance, Perry Mason, discusses reboot's lesbian twist on Della Street. So here she is. Let's hear a little bit ways. So this is the actress that played Della Street. It just sucks. I talked about this, I think, on my other video. I meant to talk about it here. Maybe on my last video here.
Different reasons, but the first being the fact that I used to watch Perry Mason with my dad, actually, when I was younger. And
so she's British, which makes total sense, because she talked with an American accent, but she seemed to be British, right? The way that she behaved. They often do this, right?
And what I loved about the series was that Perry and Della had this very sort of flirtatious, kind of cheeky, naughty, fun, supportive relationship.
So she watched Perry Mason, the original story, and a big part of it was the flirtatious sort of, romantic undertones between Della Street and Perry Mason, right? They never hooked up, but there was this, that kept people watching. But they went in a completely other direction here, which you'll get to.
It never really, it was never anything overtly sexual. It was sort of this kind of rapport between them that was kind of fascinating. And I love the fact that this series, because it's a prequel to that original story, Della and Perry actually really can't stand each other at the beginning of this. And all through this.
It's not a prequel because she's becoming a lawyer. Where Della was happy to be a secretary in the original because she wasn't a feminist, and she's becoming a lawyer because she feels like she's better than Perry Mason at his job and other people. So she's in the process of becoming a lawyer, and Perry Mason's firm is paying for it, and she's going to be a partner with Perry Mason. That's how they're doing this. So it's not a prequel because the outcome, well, is at some point she's going to get broken and just accept that she's a secretary because it's not in line with the other story at all. And she's a lesbian in this one, which the original story she wasn't. So, like, don't call it a prequel because you've destroyed the characters and the narrative, and it was so preachy, right? And I've said this before. If you're going to put, if you're going to say, all right, that white men have run Hollywood in the world, which is, in some ways accurate, right? That white men are responsible for all the content and making the decisions and putting out Hollywood content. And now you're going to change that. You're going to bring in women, you're going to bring in people of color, and you're going to bring in LGBTQ people who were a big part of that in the beginning that have been all along, right? But you're going to pull them forward, and they're going to tell their stories. And they're going to make things, based in their way of viewing the world. Like you had white men's view of the world. So I understand that that's accurate in various ways, and I don't mind it. Like I don't mind if you have other people's stories, you have more diversity in movies and TV shows. What you have is they're taking the old white man, the narratives and even old shows like this, and they're just putting some kind of preachy, gloss over it. They're taking the original concepts and all the things that came from white dudes, and they're putting these preachy, like, feminist or other narratives, and it's all like how bad white guys are. Like, that's what they've done. Like, they haven't made their own thing. Like, stop talking about how white guys sucked and, how hard it was to be a woman or a person of color or an LGBTQ person when it was, the past or the present, or, how it sucks so bad because white men suck so bad. And they're, it's just, we've heard that narrative now in everything. Just make your own, make something outside of your position as a victim of, the white man, right? Or whatever, the controlling system, and just make your thing, right? I'm a dyslexic person. I don't fit in. I'm a truther or whatever, the various demographics. I seldom talk about how bad it sucks to be me in this world, right? Because it really doesn't suck. I don't look at it like that, but I'm not in line with the powers that be, and I never have been. And I talk about other things and I mock things. And I see things from a different perspective, like you guys can see here, right? But talking about the same narrative of how you're a victim of the system, and people do this all over. Trump's talking about it, the victim of the system. Everybody's talking about it, how they're victims of the, Hillary talking about how her Bill was a victim of the right-wing conspiracy theory, conspiracy against him. Just all these things. The victim consciousness, it's just we're tired of it. Like, it's not good content. So I just want to clarify what I was saying there. I'm in the editing process. The idea that white men are in control of the world is accurate, right? It's clearly the power group is, in terms of demographics and things like this, it's more complex than that. But if you want to just say it's, rich white men or whatever it is, old white men. And so, yeah, that has been, a power demographic. There's various groups that have power. But if you look at, like, say, the royal family, the British royal family, this is about oppression. And women saying they're being oppressed, and people of color saying they're being oppressed, and gay people saying they're being oppressed. everybody's oppressed. It's an oppressive society. The British royal family, you look at what Harry and Meghan Markle's are saying, and just, the way Princess Diana was, all of it, but all of them are oppressed. They live in very, they can't be free to be who they are, right? They have to marry who they're told to marry, and they have to, everything. You watch some of those shows about the aristocracy, not just in Britain, but all these wealthy people. And the society that they exist in is oppressive, more oppressive and more controlled. We have a lot more freedom to be who we are on a lower economic level, right? Now they can do whatever they want with us, and they're above the law, but they have very strict, regimented lifestyles, and who they are is completely controlled. And it's across our whole society. Everybody's oppressed by a social construct, by a government, and it's even in a tribal situation, right? We all have to conform to the laws and rules and attitudes of the controlling system, whatever it is. That's always exists. People have always felt like outsiders. I felt like an outsider my whole life. And I, talk about that, but not in a way that I'm a victim. I feel like it's a blessing, right? I feel like being dyslexic is a blessing. Being introverted is a blessing. Wherever my soul, comes from, and my soul doesn't really understand doesn't align with the powers that be. But I don't feel like a victim. Even when I was talking about what's happened with YouTube and all these things. It's, the system's rigged against everybody to some extent. It's rigged against you connecting with your soul. It's rigged against you becoming what you're supposed to be spiritually. It's everybody. Like, it's every person, every demographic. And your soul chose the body, the color of your skin, the sex you are, all these things. Your soul chose it. Your soul created your body for a vehicle to, for its own purpose to evolve and move back to the source. And so make something about that, right? Instead of whining about your circumstances, how society is so, so warped, but you won't acknowledge how it is for us truthers, say. Us truthers have to listen to your BS and the way that you guys see the world, or the way that you want us to see the world, your lies. We have to listen to your lies everywhere, whether it be in TV shows or whether it be in the news or politicians or sports or all of it, right? Anytime we tune into the show, we're being told our view of reality is wrong. And you guys don't have a problem with that, right? You don't put that in your movies or TV shows. You feel like you're an oppressed group, and you want to tell everyone how oppressed you are, but you don't care when other people and other groups are oppressed. Or when you're oppressing other groups with your beliefs, with your woke beliefs that you're trying to force down our throats, right? And so that's what I'm talking about here. It's everybody is in an oppressive situation if you look at it like that, right? Because that's what social societies and civilization is all about. It's about, a collective understanding of rules and, whatever it is, and social ways of being and attitudes that we all have to adhere to, whether they're right or wrong. And some places are worse than others, and some people have it worse than others. But we all have to accept that this was a choice our soul made and something we have to experience, maybe consequences from a previous existence or whatever it might be. And make something about that. Make something where you're not a victim. Make something where you're accepting of your situation, and you're doing the best to figure out what you have to change as a person to get out of the trap that is planet Earth, right? We're all, bound to planet Earth for some reason. And what can we do to extricate ourselves from this trap and move forward on a spiritual level to a higher level existence, right? Why not make something about that? That would be interesting. Instead of just whining about how, your life sucks and how this group of people suck and whatever it is. And that's the majority of content is that. Republicans talking about how the Democrats suck, and Democrats talking about how the Republicans suck, and then just all the other ways that is expressed. Liberals and conservatives, or, women and women, or whatever it is. And we've heard it before. We know that's how you feel. We know that that's how the groups feel. But what about talking about, why you suck, right? Like what sucks about you that you're trapped here and you can't get out, right? That you're in this situation. What do you got to do to extricate yourself from that situation? But anyways,
series, you have this wonderful kind of journey that they make together in discovering the things that they actually find quite similar about each other to themselves. And sort of that relationship develops and becomes much more sort of where you sort of see Della and Perry live in the original series. So it's a lovely progression.
It's not going to end up there, right? Because you're going to be a lawyer and you think you're better. Her character thinks she's better than Perry Mason is at his job, right? And that's not what the original series was about.
Their journey. But particularly, so I love the fact that it kind of mirrors that in a similar way. But what makes it so interesting is for Della is by her being gay, she's, especially in that period, she's had the secret that she's had to work against and fight through her whole life. And
this is the centerpiece of the show. It became apparent in the second season that she had to hide who she was, and everyone had to. That wasn't, a rich and powerful white guy. That's and we've seen this show and TV show and movie pretty much everywhere now. That's what I'm saying. Like, do something that's based in your own specific view as a woman or whatever it is, right? Do something that's like not just whining about the man, like it just. I mean, it's not good content. And don't take the existing narratives and structures and movies and TV shows and just warp them in some way to make them worse. And they weren't good in the first place. Perry Mason isn't a show I would ever watch again. The original Perry Mason. And they somehow made it worse, right? They're taking old content and making it worse. And just unwatchable. And preachy and just goofy. But, that's Della Street. Here she is, Dr. Jilly Jill Biden.
I've visited red states and blue states, and I found that the common values that unite us are deeper than our divisions. And I thought you might clap for that.
Oh, that's the saddest thing ever. She's got a speechwriter. That's not an original thought. Let's listen to that again.
I've visited red states and blue states.
You did? Oh, you know who did that? Talked about that? Obama or, everybody talks about this, right? We don't have red states and blue states. There's not red people and blue, but, this kind of thing. We've heard this before. That's not an original thought. This is just what politicians say.
And I found that the common values that unite us are deeper than our divisions.
Okay, so that's just, she didn't write that because she's not a good writer. She's a doctor, but her thesis, her paper, is, if you ever see the, Tucker Carlson got her, you have to write a doctorate, a paper, and hers was on being education. She's a doctor of education. And it was, like, illiterate. Like, some of it, like, was so poorly written. It's like, not even a community college type situation thing. Right? It's remedial. And she's not a great mind. She didn't write this. And so this is just a statement that, okay, if you were in the Democratic National Convention where you got all these people who were there to cheer and, put all this fake positive energy, you might get applause for this. But there's nothing there, right? That's not an applause-worthy line. You said nothing original, nothing profound, and you didn't even say it. This is your speechwriters.
And I thought you might clap for that. I've visited red states and blue states.
So they're just showing it again. It's just pathetic.
This former Guantanamo detainee says U.S. presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis witnessed his torture.
I would never forget Ron DeSantis. His face brought a lot of pain and memories.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was a naval lieutenant stationed in Guantanamo Bay Prison in 2006. He worked as an attorney to address complaints of illegal treatment from detainees.
He told us that his job there to ensure that we were treated humanely and ensure that we were treated according to the U.S. law. And that gave us some kind of hope.
That's Mansour Ad-Daifi. He was conducting research in Afghanistan when he was kidnapped and accused of being an Al-Qaeda leader at the age of 18.
So it goes on to talk about how this guy said he was tortured, he was innocent, he was eventually released, all these things. We know Guantanamo Bay was a nightmare, and there's a good movie about this. They were just rendering people, and they knew they were innocent. Like they just, the powers that be knew these guys were innocent, but they just had them there anyway, because they want as a way to show that they were doing something. And we all know that the story isn't even real. So, right, the official story, going back to that. And so Ron DeSantis is a piece of boop that was part of that. Like, no one could be part of that Guantanamo Bay and be a good person, right? And not come out and be a whistleblower and, talk about the horrible things that were done there. The whole Guantanamo Bay stuff and the Cubies who were supposed to be patriots, wanting everyone to give up their rights to due process, all the things that we have now in terms of the judicial system, and wanted secret military tribunals where people would be rendered and thrown into jail at Guantanamo Bay. I mean, it's a horrible place and idea, all these things. Should have been closed long ago. But I just want to talk about a little bit more about this thermite thing, because while I was editing this video, I went and read some of the comments. There were a number of comments supporting the thermite idea. One person said, Dr. Stephen Jones presented the evidence of nanothermite to those who care. And that's not true. It was his theory. This guy, Dr. Stephen Jones, who's disappeared, and, I think was probably a disinformation shill, put the idea of thermite out there, but he didn't present any evidence. And then people said that they saw evidence of thermite in the, aftermath. But, there was videos out there saying it was discovered. But people have made stuff up forever. It started then. And we all believed it. I believed it. But I made an adjustment in my understanding of information that was being put out by people in the truth community, that I would look into it myself, and if I didn't, I would never take it as fact, because I saw how much disinformation was being used in the truth community. And that's what I'm talking about here. I evolved in the way that I, there's just certain things in the truth community that everybody believed, and I found that they weren't true. And the thermite thing is not true. And Stephen Jones could have done what I did, because one of the other options was a controlled demolition. There's people who believe in the laser, and now, to me, the most logical and the one that has supported by the most evidence is, they call it ground zero, and ground zero up until that point meant a place where a nuclear bomb went off. And so nuclear bombs have been used in this situation in terms of vaporizing a building. And it's just the way that the nuclear bomb, these micro nukes, they're very small. They're a small nuclear bomb that can be used to vaporize a building or something like it, right? And again, these things exist in reality, like not just some idea of it. But Stephen Jones could have looked into it and realized that thermite wasn't what they use. The company that does all the big buildings, there's one company that is in charge of this. I went to their website, read all about it. There's not even a mention of thermite anywhere. And they talked about the explosives they use when they take down one of these buildings. And someone said, well, there was evidence that they chipped away at the cement and got to, why would they do that? They had explosives that would have went through the cement and the metal girders. The thermite has to be applied on the girders directly. There was 2 buildings that were taken down that were without anything but the metal girders. They were incomplete buildings that they decided to take down, and that was used. Thermite was used, but they were small structures and it was not done by this one company. So thermite was something that was put out there as a distraction, as a secondary. If it was a nuclear bomb, then that would mean all kinds of different things, right? It certainly wouldn't have been, the official story would have been obliterated, and then there would be all these people who are suffering radioactive. Everyone in the area got a dose of this radiation, and like I already talked about, the first responders. But I'm addressing this issue as more of an understanding of what's gone wrong in the truth community and what's wrong with people who are so rigid in their beliefs they think they know. Because I don't know it's a nuclear bomb. That's my best guess, my best, assessment. There might be something else. I don't believe in the energy beam. That could be true. But, to me, the nuclear bomb just is, when I heard that, I'm like, oh, this is what this just sounds right. The thermite was just something everybody believed. But I don't know. Like, I can't prove it. And I don't really care at this point. I know the official story's wrong. And, it's something that's gone by the wayside. You can't make videos about it. I'm talking more about the attitudes of the people in the truth community, right? I'm talking about people who, who are so-called looking for truth. Now, I know that as a personality, when I go after somebody because of a stupid comment they left or whatever it is, I know that person's, is going to be lost as a viewer. And when I make fun of Trump, I know those Trumpers will get upset. I do things all the time that sabotage I wouldn't say sabotage, but undermine my ability to bring new people in or retain an audience. I say things that are going to piss people off. It's going to hurt their feelings or going to go against their beliefs. And I suck at networking. Like, I have issues with some of these other things, right? But what I do here, which should have value and has some value to some of you, is I tell the truth, right? I don't sugarcoat things to keep my audience. I don't, do things in a way that will, compromise my whatever I'm supposed to be doing here, right? Like, if I said I was a Christian, that would make me more popular. If I said I was a Trumper, if I was I was a QB or something like that, I could retain a bigger audience. But I'd be lying, right? Right? I'd be telling you something that isn't true. And people want people like that themselves or whatever it might be. And so, I just say things the way that I see them. And if I evolve, which I inevitably will, some of the things I used to believe I won't agree with, and that's going to suck for some of you. But I think it should be considered a good thing, right? But it's not. It's not valued. It's, hurt me here. And then there's just all the other aspects of it, right? I mean, you have to question everything, including your own beliefs. That's the time we live in. You have to be willing to change what you believe. And some person heard the thing about thermite and said, wow, well, that's something I know as a fact. Well, do you? Because you didn't look into it. You just took somebody else's word for it. And now you realize you were being a dope, right? But anyways, only spirituality will save this world. It's Baramano, definitely pointing for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.